That's interesting. You can find inspiration everywhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's insane.
That's the thing. I think it's about like being present.
Mm.
You know, people who meditate,
Yeah.
it's about kind of like being in that moment and concentrating and listening and
Exactly.
feeling and just
Be aware, right?
awareness. Yeah. And I think as a creative person, it's, you know, that's always beneficial to kind of just sit inside yourself and observe.
Yeah.
Observe.
Yeah. Nice.
Welcome to Thrive on Creativity. Creativity is the cornerstone of remaking the world. It's our unique defined trait that lets us thrive within the 21st century. We're here to share with you a jazzy mix of a creative funk, people with backgrounds in various areas such as art, science, business, sports. Join me to discuss the meaning of creativity and flow. Creativity and flow are about dropping limitations and pushing off borders to see the amazing places our creative abilities might bring us to. We're glad you're here to join us on this creative journey. From the heart, we're deeply grateful for your creativity.
Let's talk about being creative.
Hi, my name's Hal Stephens. I'm a composer, piano player. I'm the in-house composer for DL Music, a production music library. You can check out my credits and things that I do at halstephens.com. That's Hal Stephens with a PH. And you can also check out my music on dl-music.com.
Okay. Thank you so much, Hal. You know,
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm super stoked to talk to you about
Same here.
about your craft, about music, creativity. I'd like to talk to you about your intrinsic motivation and
Money.
yeah, exactly. About your relationship with what you do, your passion, or whatever you want to call it. That's all what matters right now. And I'd like to give people like a chance out there to feel inspired, you know, what you do. And let's jump right in. So what's the story behind why you picked music? Why piano composing? Who inspired you to start making music in the first place?
Well, obviously, that's going to start all the way back. You know, it's probably been said many times that it's less about me picking music and music picking me, you know. Both of my parents were musicians, not professional, but musicians, and their parents were musicians, so it goes like all the way back.
Okay.
And, you know, we always had instruments in the house. There was always a piano, thank goodness, in the house. So from the time I was, you know, I had to reach up. You know, there's a picture of me in diapers or whatever, reaching up to press on the keys,
nice.
you know, that far up. So it was always there, thank goodness.
Okay.
And, you know, mother was always supportive, bought me instruments. She played different things, so there was trumpet and guitar and, you know, like I said, piano and stuff in the house, so it was always around.
Why did you pick the piano instead of like trumpet, guitar? I know you can play the guitar, right?
Yeah, but that's later on.
Okay.
You know, that's in my adulthood I picked up guitar, like,
there you go.
you know, not many years ago, actually.
Okay.
You know, in a, like a serious way.
Yeah.
So piano was, all the way back. You know, that's a good question. I guess it just felt right. Like, you know, I played the trumpet early, and I liked that, but it seems like the piano is more kind of, it kind of includes a lot more.
Mm.
You know, you can go from low to high. The whole spectrum of sound
Yeah.
can be contained in that keyboard.
Yeah.
As opposed to a lead instrument like a trumpet where, you know, you've got a single line, you're not going to be playing in harmony with yourself. You know, so that had something to do with it. And I think it was just literally, like Mom said, at age 8 or whatever, we're gonna do piano lessons,
Okay.
and just something sparked and it stuck.
I like that. It's when it comes to piano and guitar, like what you just mentioned regarding the trumpet. I think like if you can play the piano and the guitar, then it's like easy to write entire songs in a way. I don't know. I mean, I played the saxophone when I was little,
Right. Yeah.
but I'm pretty sure there are people out there who can like pull that off. Write a song on a trumpet, but what you just said, like the scale and like
Yeah.
you know.
Well, if you think about it, I mean, yeah, I'm sure that there are people that can envision, chords and melody or whatever by playing a single line, on a trumpet or a saxophone. But the entire orchestra, for instance, is contained on the piano from low to high. All of the notes are there. So you can write an orchestral score from the piano and build it up that way, from the basses all the way up to piccolo.
I think you said it already, like when you were like in the diapers and reaching out, like that's probably the moment when you got hooked, when you fell in love with the thing in a way, or is there like a specific moment where you were like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, you know what? It's interesting because when I was, I was already playing from the time I was a kid, not seriously, but just playing and dabbling on the trumpet, on the piano, what have you. But it's interesting you asked that question because there was a movie that came out in like the early to mid 80s when I was a teenager. And I'm blanking on the name. Oh, Crossroads, right?
Okay, yeah.
And it was the first time I'd ever really heard the blues. And it was just like electrifying, the sound. And of course, the main character, Ralph Macchio, was playing on a guitar, right?
Yeah.
And my main instrument was piano, but I had a friend who played guitar, and he'd come over and he showed me the blues scale on guitar, but then I picked it out on the piano, and it was like this revelation of this completely new sound to this young kid growing up in Arizona,
Yeah.
And so at that moment, when I heard the blues and I was able to kind of mimic that sound on the piano, that was
Okay.
electrifying. It was like, wow, this
I
is
bet.
cool.
Nice. What's your first memory, like listening to music when you heard it, like consciously when you were like aware of it, and also like maybe playing the first moment you hit those keys?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back so far with both parents being musicians, it's all there. I remember one of the first songs that I knew was Cats in the Cradle and the Silver Spoon, Little Boy Blue and the Man on the Moon, when you coming home, Dad, I don't know when, but we'll get together then. And that was like one of the first songs that like just stuck in my head.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And, sense means quite a bit to me.
Yeah.
It's got an emotional kind of through line in my life. And it's interesting because it occurred to me so young without really even kind of getting lyrics or whatever. It was like that song just dug in. And playing, I don't know. I remember doing like little recital as a kid, and there was some little Scottish tune or something, that a 7 or 8 year old would read and play, and I had a little recital and I played it, and I just loved those tonalities, the way the harmonies set together. It was very exciting,
Yeah, I can't play the piano. I think it's really impressive, like how you use all your limbs in a way, like that's
right. I hear you.
Same as drummers.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Doing 2 different things at once, or 3 or 4, or whatever it might be. Yeah. I know.
I'm pretty sure, like,
in awe of drummers.
Keep practicing, and you'll get there eventually at some point. But it's definitely a challenge. Huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like anything is to get good at it.
Mm-hmm.
Anything, guitar, trumpet, whatever, sax, drums.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be persistent.
Yep.
How is your relationship to music in general? How would you describe that? Or like, are there moments when you just can get lost in a way, like getting lost in the moment while playing and just forget about?
Yeah, of course. Oftentimes, I mean, there's so many wonderful tools now with YouTube, for instance, where you can have a backing track provided to you in multiple styles, whether it's like blues I was talking about, or I love jazz, and that's kind of a foundation of where I came from.
Okay.
A little bit later when I started really learning jazz and improvisation. And so it's very cool to be able to put up a backing track with your headphones on and just get on the keyboard and just go over and over, and you can try different things. You can make it mellow, you can make it as fast, you can try stuff, and you got your headphones on, nobody's listening, you get lost in it, and it becomes not only like a joy to do, but at the same time, it's like a practice.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you can try different things, you can flub up, you can pause in the middle of it, doesn't matter, nobody's listening, you're not recording, and so you can kind of lose yourself in it, and then at the same time, it's like I'll notice about myself that if I do that for a while, in a week or a month or something, you actually start to improve.
Yeah.
You start to, if there's something you try, and then a week later you've tried it a few times, and all of a sudden it's like just flying off your fingers.
Yeah.
So that's a really good feeling too. It's not only getting lost in it, but then seeing yourself kind of improve or kind of accomplish something that you were thinking about when you started it. Like, oh, it'd be cool if I could, get this kind of riff really fast or whatever it might be.
And sometimes it's not like you need some kind of U-turn sometimes, like you're trying to get somewhere and then you realize, oh, no, it's not working out that way. I tried it, so I have to take a different...
Right, exactly. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and that's
Absolutely.
that's how I feel about music or like the arts in general, because you just jump into something and then you just try, and most of the times you actually don't succeed with an idea, so you have to like do little modifications here and there, adjustments.
Yeah,
So it's like this constant game of trial and error. That's how I feel it.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that you can, oftentimes I'll try to kind of, we might touch on this later too, but I try to kind of emulate other songs or other artists or some particular thing that's inspired me, some sound, and you're trying to get to that sound. Maybe you're literally trying to copy it. Like, how are they getting that guitar tone and that bass tone and that electric piano? How are they getting all of that together? What is it? And so maybe you're trying to get to that sound, but then you are also using your own creativity and something kind of sparks off of it, and then you're off in another direction that isn't exactly what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
It becomes your own then.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that you take something and then you make it your own.
Yeah, it's funny, it's almost inevitable that it happens like
True.
that way.
I agree.
You could like buckle down and be like, I'm going to copy this note for note, tonality for tonality, and really get in there and tweak until I find exactly, all the parts. To me, that would be kind of, what's the point?
Yeah.
I can already hear it.
Yeah.
But if I'm, right?
Yeah,
if I'm
it's already
inspired by it,
Yeah.
and I want to get that groove, for instance, and part of the groove is the way that the electric piano is working off of the bass or whatever. You're going to try to find as close as you can to that, but then you're all, if you're a creative person, you're going to take it where it leads you anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're going to inevitably kind of make it your own.
Yeah. It's true. When it comes to creativity, like being creative, do you have like favorite moments and like moments that are not so enjoyable in the creative process?
Yeah, well, let me first say that the job that I have, I'm very fortunate to have. I'm the in-house composer for DL Music.
Thank you for saying that.
Right. And I'm very fortunate to have that job, obviously for many reasons. One of the main reasons is I get to be creative for my work, which is great. The other side of that is I need to be creative for my work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's a little give and take there. I get to be creative, meaning I can do what I want. You know, I have projects and stuff like that, but I can also kind of explore.
Yeah.
Because the production music library has, you know, just as any genre you can think of.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm always trying to kind of anticipate what's needed for productions out there and kind of fill those holes that the library, you know, either doesn't have or might need more of, or that type of thing. So I'm able to be creative that way. Then there are also times when you're not feeling creative, but you still need to be, or try to be productive. You know?
How do you attack those days?
So what I do is I try to write every day.
Yeah.
Right? So I set off a time, like generally in the afternoon, like after lunch. I say, you know, I'm going to open up Pro Tools and I'm going to go. And sometimes I've got projects, and that's another thing we can talk about. And sometimes it's just like I say, I'm going to try to kind of direct myself to go in a certain way. Like, you know, I'm going to write hip hop, or I'm going to go for a country track, or I'm going to go for an orchestral tension track, or whatever. Because I feel like, you know, that might be what's needed for the library right now, or, you know, there's a general kind of request for certain kinds of things. I try to do it every day, open up Pro Tools, and try to be creative, try to write. And sometimes it works, sometimes it flows, and sometimes it fights me.
Yeah.
You know, when it flows, it's great.
Definitely.
I would say most of the time it doesn't flow.
It doesn't, yeah.
Not that most of the time it's like I'm just feeling like completely like depleted and nothing's happening. It's not like that.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like on a spectrum where sometimes the ideas are just flowing out of your head. You have no idea where they're coming from, and you're just hurrying to find the next, you know, sound. Oh, that's what I want. Yep, go find it. Yep, that's it. And oh, perfect. You know, do it again just to get it right. Yeah, great. Go on to the next one. You know, sometimes you're moving so fast you crash Pro Tools because it's working.
Yeah, I mean, you write every day, so that's different. But I have those moments where I feel sometimes overwhelmed because I can't catch up. And then I have to like stop my, you know, I have to, like slow down. You know, it's a little bit too much right now.
Yep,
like
I'm with you.
Yeah, the creative ideas.
Like the ideas are coming too fast.
Yeah, and it's like, I can't keep up with that right now.
That happens too, and that's obviously a better place to be in than the alternative.
No, I'm not complaining at all.
No, I'm with you. But at the same time, it's like sometimes I have to, you have to just kind of stand up and back away from it because it's like too much.
Yeah.
You know? And that's okay too. I think a big part of composing is thinking.
Yeah.
Sitting back and kind of, and even if it isn't like actively thinking, although it can be like that too, where you're listening to what you've just laid down and thinking about what needs to come next, that can be part of it.
Yeah.
But it can also be just kind of like resting your brain for a second, looking out the window, you know, and then getting back into it. And that way, I think you can kind of reset, you know.
Yeah.
And obviously, that's a great place to be, is to, you know, have it flowing. The other part of it, when it's not flowing, but you still, you know, I still feel like I need to be productive and I need to give it a shot, because honestly, sometimes when you're not feeling creative, you feel like giving it up, like, forget it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna go home and forget
Today is not the day.
I often find that if I can just kind of continue, just kind of push through it a little bit.
Okay.
Oftentimes, something will lock, and you'll be able to, you'll be able to continue. You'll be able to find something, some sound, some lick, something will inspire you.
Is that like a process of trying to like knock on that wall until like brick after brick falls off, and it's like this? Just
That's a good way to put it. You just kind
doing.
of just keep knocking at it. Keep it, like fortitude or just patience, I guess, a little bit.
Yeah.
And if you need to, you get up and you take a walk, and you get a drink of water, and you do a little stretching or whatever it is you need to do, and then you sit back down. And I mean, there's a bunch of different things you can do. You could play, you can listen, things like that. But I feel like, oftentimes if you can kind of just keep chipping away at it, then you can kind of relax into it, and it'll start to flow again. It's not necessarily going to be like this ray of light from heaven where, like you were talking about, where it's, you got to go fast to keep up with what's going on. I mean, those times are great, but most of the time it's like you're pushing through it.
Okay.
But then once you can break through sometimes, it'll ease up.
Yeah. Are those moments worth it?
Totally worth it, because
Nice.
I think that's where I am most of the time is, artists say they're in their practice, right? They say that all the time. And so that's what it feels like. It's like I'm doing what I do, and I try to do it every day, around the same time. And sometimes it fights you, and sometimes it's flowing, and most of the time you're in that middle place where you're chugging through it, And that's all if you're just trying to be productive and trying to write. Like, it's a separate thing, like if I've got a project that has a deadline.
Yeah. Then you just have to be on it, right?
Well, that's a beautiful thing to me, a deadline.
Okay.
I love deadlines.
Nice.
Because first of all, you've got a set amount of time. You have to do it.
Yeah.
It's your job, right? It's my job. I've got to do it.
Yeah.
My boss comes in and says, I got this need. And then there's parameters. Parameters are beautiful. It needs to be this long. It's this style of music. For example, a recent one came in where the company has an old TV show. Doesn't matter what it was, but let's, from the 60s back then, and they've got a scene where they've got the characters watching like a Spanish bullfight, and the toreador comes into the bull ring, and they need a piece of music, and it's going to be 30 seconds long, say, and they need it by, today or tomorrow morning or something. So you've got a set amount of hours, and you know what you've got. You've got a 1960s TV show. It's going to be orchestral. You've got so you've got a genre. You've got a vibe. It's going to be a toreador coming into a bull ring. So you immediately start to think, okay, I'm not going to be doing, freestyle hip-hop pop dance music, right? It's completely out. So you're locked in. You're orchestral, and then you start thinking, well, I'm going to use a trumpet for the lead, that type of thing. So then as the things constrict the deadline, the amount of time that you need to write, the instrumentation, you get very focused. You get very motivated because you don't want to screw up. You want the boss to like you. You want the client to be happy. You want to do a good job.
Yeah.
And so within those strictures, you get the opportunity to kind of like push out into the bull ring, as it were. You've got a ring. You can push all the way out into that without having to worry about, well, I've got too many things to think about. No, you lock it in, and then that, for me, can be a very creative space.
Awesome.
Having that fence, as it were, kind of fencing you into certain things that allow you to kind of go wild within that.
Yeah, I find that very interesting that you can, probably you trained so well in it. It's your day-to-day work, right?
Yeah.
That someone takes away like all your creative freedom in a way and like narrows it down like, okay, this is what it is. Go. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, we talk about inspiration
Mm-hmm.
and you talk about creativity
Yeah.
and you talk about craft.
Mm-hmm.
And these are three very different things within what I do, which is composing. Inspiration is like, you hear something or you see something and you're like emotionally involved and you can't wait to get to the keyboard or the guitar or what have you and put those ideas down. And like you're saying earlier, the stuff's just flowing.
Yeah.
And then there's creativity. There's like, I want to be in a genre. And so I'm going to be creative and I'm going to just play and see what comes out within hip-hop, within country, within jazz, whatever it might be. And then there's craft, where you've got kind of these tools and you use those tools to accomplish what you need to get done.
I like that. You talked a little bit about it already, but do you have certain routines, triggers, or you said like, okay, I said like the afternoon, this is my time where I have to write.
Yeah.
So I decided that was my decision. So you already like know, okay, now I'm in the creative space.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Exactly. I think about like writers where, they set aside like every day from this time to that time.
Yeah.
I'm going to write. And that's what I do.
Okay.
Every afternoon, I open up Pro Tools.
Yeah.
Pretty much no matter what.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, if other things intervene as far as the job is concerned. But every day I really try to open it up 2:30, 2:30 after lunch, whatever, and go until the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I find that, having stuck with that, once again, it's kind of that fence metaphor where you're in this time and you see 5 o'clock coming and it's time to go. And, if you've got a little groove on, then that time goes really fast.
Yeah.
And you're trying to pack in as much productivity as you can in that time.
Was it for you like a transition phase or something like that, like a testing phase? Did you get inspired by someone else who like give you some recommendation how to be more productive, how you can like utilize your creative abilities in a way? Or did you just come up naturally? Okay, I pick that time during the day and I just do that kind of work.
Well, once again, luckily I'm in a position where I can have blocks of hours to do that. I'm very fortunate in that case. But I think anybody could probably carve out time to just make it that no matter what, even if I'm just not feeling it.
Yeah.
And believe me, sometimes I'm just not feeling it.
I believe you.
know.
Definitely.
But I just open up Pro Tools and, I've got my templates up. So, I've got a piano that comes up or whatever. And if anything, I'm going to just something, and then maybe something will get sparked. And that's the thing. If nothing's happening, then the most important thing is to listen.
Okay. Interesting. Well,
Listen to other music,
okay.
And I like to try to listen to everything. So I go to the LA Phil. Every year I buy tickets.
Nice.
And I go.
Yeah.
And it kind of doesn't really matter who it is. Like I saw Rachmaninoff and Stravinsky on Saturday, and that was great.
I
And
bet.
the previous one was something I can't really even remember because it wasn't that great. I mean,
Okay.
the LA Phil's always great,
Yeah.
but the music sometimes is meh. But it doesn't really matter because you're there, you're listening, you're absorbing it, And then if, like I say, if I'm not feeling it or whatever, I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna try to listen. So the example being the LA Phil, like, branch out, listen to classical music. And then I'll also listen to whatever pop stuff is going on.
Yeah.
Because not only is it good to know for my job, because I got to be kind of on it, but, you can get something from anything.
Oh, yeah.
Production value.
Definitely. Sounds.
The sounds.
Trends. Whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it may or may not be, the voice of the singer.
Yeah.
But it could be anything, like the way the kick drum sounds,
Exactly.
the way the bass line sound, the groove.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that'll kind of, if not spark you in that moment, it's almost like you're feeding money into the bank.
Yeah.
You're kind of sitting it in there for a rainy day, and it'll come out somehow, some other time. And I try not to limit myself as far as like the type of music. Like, I don't only listen to this, I listen to it all.
Yeah.
I may or may not like love it and enjoy it and want to put the iPod, put it on the iPod or on your phone and walk around listening to it. But nonetheless, I like listening to everything.
Nice.
So, that's what I would say to creative people. If, set aside some time and stick to it. And even if you're just making yourself just sit in front of your Pro Tools, your Logic session, or sit there with your guitar in your lap or whatever it is, just do it.
Yeah.
And if you're just fighting it, then listen, or mess around with sounds in the computer, or, just something every day. That's what I try to do every day, just something.
Okay.
And it often will spark something.
Love it. When things don't go your way.
That never happens.
Huh?
That never happens.
It never happens. But do
Yeah.
you feel frustrated?
Yeah, sure, of
Okay.
course.
Is the frustration feeding the hunger, or is it like more putting you down? Is it more like, okay, next time I get it right, or like, okay, this is a little obstacle here or challenge. Maybe I need to try harder in a way.
I think it can be all those things.
Okay.
It's not, it can be frustrating, but, if creativity isn't flowing or whatever, but it's not discouraging.
That's what I wanted
Because-
to know. Yeah.
Because, I'll talk to my wife on the phone. She'll be like, how you doing? And I'll be like, it's fighting me today,
Yeah.
And so it's fighting me.
Yeah.
So I try a little of this, I try a little of that, I listen to something, and maybe I'm not productive that day. That's okay.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
Good.
Come back tomorrow. You're going to be in a different place. You're going to feel different. You're going to be in a different emotional place. You're going to be in a different physical place.
Mm-hmm.
And tomorrow will be different.
Yeah.
And then you can listen that day and get inspired, or, have something come to you like, I think I'll try that, or, So, yeah, it can be frustrating, but never discouraging.
Awesome.
It's just like, you just let it go.
Yeah.
But come back.
Okay. Good
That's what I
point.
do. Just come back to it.
Yeah. I like.
And I'll be in the middle of a piece, and it'll be fighting me. I can't find the next line. I can't.
Yeah.
It's just nothing's working. But I just keep coming back to it.
Awesome.
And one of these days, it's like, oh, well, why didn't I hear that?
Exactly.
Oh, it's
you
this right
have
here.
those. Boom. There it is.
Yeah. And you're done. And you're like, why is that so hard?
Yeah.
It took a month to find that.
Yeah.
So it took a month. Big deal.
Cool. What does silence do to you? Music is sound. What about silence? I like silence, for example.
I do too.
Yeah. It's very. Yeah. It's a place of rest in a way.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Peace.
Yeah, to me, it's like super important.
Mm-hmm.
As part of the writing process, I find it like just essential. Like
Cool.
at some point, you've got to just sit back and be quiet.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, it just kind of, it's just like a break from anything, But of course, if it's music, you've got a lot of sound in there, especially if you're working on a track and you're playing it over and over and over and over again. It's essential to just have that quiet. Even if you're not thinking anything specific or working out a problem that you're trying to figure out in the track that you're writing or what have you. for me, it's always important just to kind of
Yeah.
sit back.
Yeah.
And I'll often like use that kind of seeming silence to like work out an issue musically in my head. Like, part of composing for me is, sitting and thinking about it, for lack of a better word, like just kind of letting it kind of ruminate and percolate, even in that moment, I mean.
So thoughts in your head, also like visuals, like when you, for example, you brought that example when you had to write the piece for one of your clients.
Yeah.
How does it look like, this image in your mind? And some people, composers, they write scores for movies and,
Right.
And they look at
Right, and they're
the
looking
picture.
at the image
Yeah,
as
yeah.
it occurs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done that as well.
Yeah.
And that, honestly, to me, it's less like about the image itself and more about kind of the emotional subtext of what the image is communicating, right? So if it's a movie or a scene, and I'm thinking, I'm trying to write for that scene, it's going to be almost entirely the emotional subtext. I mean, is it tense? And is it tense in like a creepy, unsettling way, or is it tense in like a bad vibe relational way, or is it, is there some sort of deep sadness or longing, and it might be somebody walking down the stairs, but you're going to try to find that emotional content and then try to translate that content into music, that emotional content into music. And then in that way, it becomes, like I was talking to you earlier about craft.
Yeah.
So you could be inspired, but you also need to know, if I play certain chords, they're going to produce certain emotional tonalities, as it were.
Yeah.
Like if the guy's coming down the stairs and this emotional subtext is that he's, in grief or sad or what have you. You're not going to play a big C major, And so that's craft, knowing that, well, if I have an A flat minor here, and then I move to, whatever, B major, and then I move to an E flat minor, you're gonna produce a certain feeling. And so that's why I think craft is super important.
Awesome. One thing about silence, I think it's fascinating. When my dad had his band in the 60s and 70s in Germany, they did like this Simon Garfunkel style,
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, and they also like did a cover of The Sound of Silence, in German. So, and when I was little, I just asked my dad, what does it mean, the sound of silence?
Right, sure.
And then he said, well, the sound of silence is like the sound of all possibilities.
Oh, wow.
And I really like that. And I said, okay, everything is possible.
That's right.
Yeah, and I really liked what he said, those words. And that always stuck with me.
I had a piano teacher very briefly when I was like 17 or 18. Can't even remember the dude's name. It was like I sat with him like twice or three times. But this guy was so influential. You talk about the sound of silence. This guy said to me for the first time, allowing me to think for the first time about kind of listening outside of just music. So he turned me on to, some very influential jazz. I mean, that was the first time I heard Miles Davis, and the first time I heard Herbie Hancock, stuff like that, like seminal works.
Okay.
But then he also said, listen to the outside world. Listen to the city, when you're driving, when you're walking, when you're just sitting, listening. Because obviously in a city, anywhere actually, there's no such thing as like silence.
No, there's a rhythm, right?
Yeah, there's
some
something
beat.
going on.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're quiet here,
Yeah.
there's stuff going on around us, right? And so it was a way to kind of like think differently or be inspired, or really it was about like really just concentrating on what it means to like listen,
Yeah.
you know, and really kind of get into details
Yeah.
and know that, you know, you can listen and be inspired or thoughtful or, you know, pensive or whatever. Curious, sure, you know, about whatever sounds you're hearing,
Yeah.
whether they're, you know, doors opening and closing
Yeah.
or, you know, Rachmaninoff.
Yeah.
It could be all kinds of different stuff.
Yeah. I'm not sure about this. Hopefully I'll get it right, but I think Ryan Tedder was sitting on a train and he was listening to the engine of the train, and then he came up with the beat for Rumors, Adele. I think that's, you know, you just listen.
That wouldn't surprise me at all.
No, me neither.
Jump, 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 jump,
Exactly.
jump,
Yeah.
jump, jump, jump. Sure, yeah.
Yeah. Stuff like that, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. You can find inspiration everywhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's insane.
That's the thing. I think it's about like being present.
Mm.
You know, people who meditate,
Yeah.
it's about kind of like being in that moment and concentrating and listening and
Exactly.
feeling and just
Be aware, right?
awareness, yeah. And I think as a creative person, it's, you know, that's always beneficial to kind of just
Yeah.
sit inside yourself and observe.
Yeah.
Observe.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. Are there any goals or aspirations you're after when it comes to like being in a creative process? For me, for example, I think the greatest joy is like in that moment of creation when something comes out of nothing. And it's like,
Yeah.
there it is. Like this relationship between you and the music. And it comes from a place you did not know. You weren't about. It's just there.
It's just there, yeah.
Yeah, those are my favorite moments. And it's just me and the music in this moment.
It's for you.
Yeah, and then when I go back or remind myself of those moments, it's like, yeah, that's what it is about. Like everything else is just bonus. But this, like, when you are in a place and you can create so much joy for yourself,
Yeah.
I think that's just mind blowing to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when you can share it, like when you collaborate with someone, and
Sure.
that's even better, you know. Then you have like a party, but you know.
Right.
But those moments, I mean, or is
Yeah,
it more
because
like
I
that?
I feel like in those moments, it's like you lose yourself for a second. I mean, it
Yeah.
almost sounds kind of cliched, right? But it's
I don't care.
Yeah, it doesn't matter
Yeah,
because
okay.
in that moment when you're, you know, locked in
Mm-hmm.
playing or you're coming up with something new, you're not thinking about yourself. You're not like,
Exactly.
my back hurts.
Exactly.
I got to pay that bill.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, you know, that thing's coming up. It's all gone.
Yeah.
You know. And yeah, if you can grab that for just a minute and give yourself a break,
Yeah.
you know, it's a real joy.
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned it. Like when you work on a project, like for a client, then it's more like following a mission in a way, right? You have to like please someone with your
You gotta try to get
Yeah.
what you expect that they want.
Yeah, and then you have like also times where it's more organic, more free.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Any preferences when it comes to that, or probably it also depends on
You know,
daily mood or anything like that.
Yeah, you know, I really love the deadline.
Awesome.
I really
Okay.
love that.
Okay.
You know, like I say, it's like, yeah, it's a beautiful thing to be able to be creative, to have that time to kind of explore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I want to go here, I want to go there, but it's like we're just talking about like that kind of meditative experience where you're in it and you're not thinking about whatever other crap's going on. You're just in it.
Yeah.
And to me, like a deadline, a project is like that.
That's
can't-
like a trigger for you in a way.
I guess you could say that. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it focuses, it hones in, and it pushes everything else off to the side. Like right now, and for the next, you know, X amount of hours, I've got 5 hours to finish this track It needs to be 30 seconds long.
Yeah.
It needs to accomplish these things. And then I've got to get it off to the client.
Yeah.
That just focuses you in to the exclusion of everything else. And you just do it. And because I have craft, I don't have to sit back and let the muse like inspire me, you know? Inspire me. What do I want to write today? No, I've got to do this thing, and I've got to do it by this time, and you know, I'm going to think about it for a little while, and then I'm going to just execute.
And,
Go.
and then you put yourself into that kind of mental state where you just like,
Yeah.
okay, and I have to deliver now. I
Well,
have to perform or
Yeah,
whatever.
you have to perform. You
Yeah.
have to deliver. That's
Yeah.
exactly it.
Yeah.
You know, it's my job, so I have a responsibility
Yeah.
to the company, to myself as a
Yeah, sure.
as a you know, as a creative person,
Yeah.
or as a person who's providing a product.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can't say that's, you know,
Not today.
I'm not inspired today
Yeah.
to write that track for you.
Yeah.
And then they're just like, okay, well then we'll go to somebody else
Thanks.
because somebody else will be inspired. It's like, no, I got to do it.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm gonna do it.
Okay.
You know, and that's a beautiful place to be because, like I say, everything else just goes away, and boom, you're concentrating on that thing.
Yeah. Yeah. What role does productivity play when it comes to creativity and vice versa?
Yeah, we kind of touched on that,
Mhm.
and I think it's important to try to be productive.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
like I
it's-
say, you got to give yourself a break.
Yeah.
You know, you can't slave drive yourself because part of being, like, aside from the, you know, if I have a project and a client needs it, that's another thing.
Mhm.
But then to be creative, to be kind of explore wherever you want to go, it's a little more loose like that.
Mhm.
But I still think it's important to have those strictures, to have that fence to kind of play within.
Mhm.
So whether it's I'm giving myself, you know, this time in the afternoon,
Mhm.
or whether I'm saying, you know what, I'm going to do this genre, and I'm going to do it with these instruments. You know, you kind of you can make yourself kind of rules. I'll make myself like, I'm going to stick with whatever, electric piano or acoustic piano and acoustic guitar and hand percussion. Go.
Yeah.
So that you're not like, well, I've got a million different things, especially this day and age.
Yeah.
You got, you know, as a
5
piano
million
player with
plugins. Yeah.
as a piano player with Pro Tools or whatever you've got access to every sound on earth.
Yeah.
And 99% of them sound great.
Mhm.
And sometimes that can be like overwhelming.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'll say I'm going to do this genre, or, you know, and I'm going to choose, you know,
Okay.
this. And then that's not to say that you don't expand outside that, but it's a good kind of like mental place to be for me, to kind of like give myself parameters once again.
Yeah.
You know? Too free is like, you can be just overwhelmed, like, I don't know what even plug in to open up or whatever. You know, just stick to one plug-in or stick to one style of music.
Yeah. Okay.
You know?
What I just want to talk about is like creativity has a little bit this understanding that it has to be free. You know, you can't have like the structure and order, like a routine kind of thing. You know, like you have to be like free in a way. And
Right.
for me, for example, routines really help in order to be productive.
Yeah.
So I follow certain routines
Yeah.
in order to get like my mind to a place. Yeah, and now I can be productive.
Exactly.
Yeah, but in a creative way.
Yes.
And that's maybe that's like a little bit this this battle of understanding of how creativity works in a way, because I really function the best when I have structure in a way.
I agree. That's
Okay.
exactly my point.
Okay, yeah, and that's where I want to go, instead of like, okay, let's get up and see how the day feels. Is it a creative day today?
Right. Yeah, and see, that's the thing. Then you could easily say to yourself, "No, it's not a creative day. It's a day to lay on my butt and not do
Exactly,
Because I
yeah.
think that we kind of we kind of tend to kind of go toward that kind of a feeling of like,
More like
I'm not going
a
to fight
way
it.
of least resistance.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's much easier to do that than it is to say every day from
Yeah.
2 to 5, I'm going to open up Pro Tools, or I'm going to pick up the guitar and pick up my notepad, whatever it is that you do.
Yeah.
In my case, I compose all different stuff, so it's always opening up Pro Tools. And I'm going to make myself do it every day. And it's not even like making myself.
Oh, you created those habits. It's just like part
It's
of
a habit.
Yeah.
It's like that's what I do.
Yeah. That's
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's badass.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah, it's cool that way because then you know it's coming up.
Yeah.
You can look forward to it. And then you can also say there's a limit to it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's great too because I can't be creative 24/7.
Sure.
I got to go home.
Yeah, yeah.
I got to hang out with my wife.
Yeah, and the tank is empty at some point.
Exactly. You
Yeah.
got to refill.
Yeah.
You got to kick back. You got to
Yeah.
watch TV. You know, whatever
Yeah.
it is. You got to eat dinner. You
Yeah.
got to have a conversation with somebody. You got to go out. You got to have fun. You got to
Yeah.
do other things
Yeah.
too. But for me, like inside, I have to write. I have to.
Yeah.
You know. And what's nice is if you can get yourself in the habit of this time to that time, then you can look forward to it. You can be free.
Yeah.
You know, you're talking about being free creatively.
Yeah.
Be free within that time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then once that's, once that time's over, then you can do other things and I can come back to this later.
Did it take a while to to get into create that habit? Because I think science says it takes like 60 plus days to create new habits. I mean, you're doing it for such a long time, but if you can, I don't know, go back to a time where you're like, yeah,
Yeah,
it's a little
once
bit.
again, it's like I'm very fortunate that I have this gig, and so I can carve out that time, and the time can be productive, and it has a goal, I take these tracks and I'm going to put them into the library, and they're going to hopefully be used by production companies that then generate revenue.
Yeah.
That's the whole idea, So to have that, that opportunity to be able to be creative every day is great. If you've got a gig that doesn't allow you to do that every day, then you have to try to find it some other way, and that it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy because to be creative, you gotta feel comfortable.
Yeah, it's
You can't be physically uncomfortable or emotionally racked with something, and then shut all that off and go have fun playing the guitar, working on a song.
yeah. You have to
It's tough.
Yeah, I think if you're distracted by negative thinking, for example, something bothers you. I don't know. You had a car accident, and now you're like, oh shit, my insurance and all that stuff.
Exactly.
If you keep that in your mind, creativity might flow a little bit, I don't know, rocky.
tough.
Yeah. So that's why it's so important to be, to get this out of the way, that you're in a mental state where thoughts don't drain you.
Intrude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, but at the same time, it's like you can't wait for the thoughts to not intrude.
And
You
that's
know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's what I think it's so great that you have those habits figured out, because
exactly.
you don't need to force that. You did it already.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's just it's part of taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
So if and it doesn't have to be 3 hours a day,
No.
it could be a half an hour,
Yeah.
and it could be whatever works for you. When you get up in the morning, not me, but half an hour before you go to bed at night, a half an hour after you come home from work,
Yeah.
after you eat and you're relaxed for a minute and everything's kind of in a settled place. You got to just find that space and just let it be that space where you can either be creative or you can just sit with your instrument, or you can listen to something and play along with it, and maybe, put something in the tank for later,
Yeah.
or whatever it might be. But if you can carve out that space, super important.
Okay.
And then you can have those thoughts intruding if you want or not,
Yeah.
and maybe you can get away from them for a minute. But at least that's your space.
Yeah. I like it. After all this time, why still music? Of course, you have a job.
Right.
But-
Once again, super,
Yeah.
fortunate to have
Yeah.
a creative position. But
I'm
that's-
pretty sure you would still play, right? Even though,
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where you can't really explain it. There's like just a draw. There's like a draw to it.
Yeah.
And even though I've got, time set aside, in the afternoon where this is what I do, other times I'll still feel that draw sometimes. Like, oh, gosh, yeah. An idea, or
Yeah.
you hear some other track or a movie score, or you go to the LA Phil, or, whatever it might be, or you're listening to the rhythm of the city or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
There's still that draw. So it's like, it's inexplicable. It's either in there and you're drawn to it, or you're not. And so you're drawn to something else. Hopefully.
Yeah, true. What about collaborations? What does collaborating mean to you?
Collaborating is cool because it's kind of like that we were talking about, that having a deadline, where I've got to do something for a client, and it's got to be done by now.
Yeah.
And you've got to put your best foot forward, because you're putting, not only is a company being put out there through me, it's me. It's got my
Yeah,
name on
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
So I'm going to try to do as good a job as I can within that time frame. And I feel like that with collaboration too. There's like a pressure, like if I'm working with you,
Yeah.
if I'm working with, Dave, if I'm working with, some of my other friends or whatever, there's like a good pressure to get it done to a quality, so that, on a very base level, so that I hope they like it.
Yeah.
I hope they're impressed
Yeah.
with my cool piano playing
Yeah.
ability, or my cool ideas that I've come up with for this string arrangement, or whatever it might be, right? So there's that kind of those strictures again, like trying to, do a good job, trying to do it in the time allotted, and then there's also a cool kind of competitiveness.
Okay.
too,
Yeah.
that
There is,
can be
right?
there.
There is,
you know?
right?
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
in
And
a
that's
way.
great.
Yeah.
Why
but
not?
no, I
As
think
long
it's
as
healthy.
not,
Yeah.
as long as it's not the predominant thing, like, I'm going to show this guy that I'm a badass and he sucks.
Yeah,
That
the
is-
only thing is, of course, there's a little bit ego involved, of course, when you're
course.
competitive, but I think it's the same, how I see it, it's like, if someone performs better, then I'm like, damn, congrats, I feel inspired. Greed is just wrong in a way, like when you're too greedy. Hunger is good, I think.
Yeah.
That's the difference between greed and ambition.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just know when I'm collaborating with someone, I'm aware what can I bring to the table.
Sure.
I learned to accept my weaknesses and learned how to work with them. I embraced them in a way, and I'm like, okay, this is what I can do, and this is what I can't.
Right.
So, and I'm
And
fine
that's
with
okay,
it. Yeah,
because you can't do everything,
exactly. Yeah,
and that's the thing. It's always good to know. It's always good to know who you're better than.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also good to know who's better than you.
Exactly.
And that's the thing.
Yeah.
There's always going to be somebody better than you.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
always going to be somebody better
yeah.
than me. There's going to be a lot of people better than me, right? Whether it's piano playing ability or composing or whatever. But you can't let that, you can't let any one thing like bring you down or push you down or hold you back, right? Because, like I said, you got to know who you're better than.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're better, if you know that this guy over here or these people over there are better than you, okay, that'll make you better. But you know what? You're also better than other people too.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And there are people who are better than the people who are better
Yeah.
than you,
Yeah.
and they are in that same position.
Yeah.
And if you're collaborating and you're working with somebody who's better than you, you're going to get better
Exactly. Yeah.
because of that competition, because of that you want to
Learning, growing, right?
and you want to feel like you're contributing, and you want to feel like, this is what I've got that I can bring to this that maybe they can't, or
Yeah.
a
They haven't
different take.
thought about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, to collaborate is really good.
Yeah.
I need to do it more.
The only thing is, of course, it's with everything, it has to be a good match. Like when you
completely
don't,
agree.
when you don't get along,
I
know.
completely agree.
Yeah.
And many times I've been in that position where it's like, hey, let's write something together. You play and I play. You get together and it just doesn't work.
yeah,
That's all right.
yeah,
If it ain't gonna work, it ain't gonna work. And then there's other times where you go, you know what I was thinking? Maybe if you did that, and then the person goes like this, and it's exactly what you were thinking,
Yeah.
and you're just like almost like unconsciously communicating.
yeah.
That's awesome.
I agree. Yeah,
And so you really want to glom onto that as
Yeah,
much as possible.
yeah.
you know?
I think making music is just so much fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Besides music, what else are you interested in?
I love art.
Like painting, sculptures, anything? Or
Yeah,
Okay.
especially painting.
Okay.
Just like a total art nerd.
Damn.
So I'm always going to museums and galleries and reading.
Oh, wow.
you know,
Okay.
do a lot. I read a lot,
Okay.
and so I'm definitely passionate about art and reading about art and looking at
Okay.
art. If I go on a trip, it's like art centric. Where are we going to go? What are we going to see?
You love creativity, man.
Yeah, art history.
Nice.
The characters that have created art or written about art or been the subject of art. And especially painting. Just love it. Drives me nuts.
Certain structures, colors, anything.
Well, I mean, it's pretty broad.
Mm-hmm.
I love abstract art,
Okay.
and I'm kind of obsessed with the abstract expressionists from back in the 40s, 50s, 60s.
Oh, wow.
And been doing a lot of reading about those guys.
Okay.
Just getting into that. Love it.
Would you consider trying it yourself?
Yeah. I
Awesome.
mean, I've dabbled in it,
Okay.
and I'm absolutely talentless.
Who gives
Absolutely. But
But you know,
nonetheless,
to just keep practicing, you get better, right?
well, yeah, I mean, absolutely. You're going to get better to whatever degree, Me, I don't know how much better I could get it. But no. But honestly, that part of it is more about kind of like understanding more about the thing that I love. If I love looking at painting and I can then, try it myself, I get more of an appreciation, more of an in-depth, first-hand knowledge of what it takes for these really talented people to do it. And you can apply that to music too.
Yeah, I really like that you're saying that. I think that's
And that's the thing, you're gonna get something out of it. If, like I said, like before, if we're talking about listening, you're gonna listen to jazz or something. Let's say it's something you don't play, or country or whatever. You could still kind of give it a shot.
Yeah.
And then if you give it a shot, you watch a YouTube video, you listen to something and try to emulate it on the guitar, on the piano. You're gonna learn something about it. You're gonna appreciate it more.
Yeah.
And when you hear it again, you're not going to necessarily just dismiss it as, well, jazz is it's too complicated to listen to. I don't want to listen to it. But if you learn a little bit about it, if you try it a little bit, you're going to broaden not only how you play or approach music, you're going to be able to appreciate listening to other stuff, with a little bit more experience in it, a little bit more knowledge. It's the same thing with, painting. If I'm just... if I'm trying dabbing paint on a canvas, I realize, wow, these abstract images, this takes a lot of talent.
Yeah.
Oh, you think you can just, my kid could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he can't do that.
No.
Or maybe you can, and if you can,
Yeah.
You're going to make $1 million years from now. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. Who or what inspires and motivates you in general? Things that make you get up in the morning and say,
Right.
yeah,
Well, if I can take this opportunity to talk about my awesome wife, I'll absolutely do it.
go for it.
I mean, my wife is fantastic.
Mm.
And what's awesome about the myriad things that are awesome about her
Mm-hmm.
is that the relationship we have is one where we communicate, we talk.
Nice.
You know, she's not a musician,
Mm-hmm.
but she's got a very good ear.
Yeah. She's a really good listener. Huh?
Yeah, she's a
Mm-hmm.
good listener. That makes sense. She's
Yeah.
a psychologist, right?
Exactly.
But I mean, she's got an actual musical ear, even though she doesn't play an instrument.
Yeah.
You know, per se. But she's got a great way of listening, and that extends to being able to, you know, talk about art, music,
Yeah.
that type of thing, to explore those ideas, and so I can feel kind of an openness to expressing myself in, you know, a bunch of different ways, and that allows me kind of that creative open feeling, that open, you know, there's nothing restricting me. I don't have to hold something back from her, you know. She can talk to me about music without knowing, you know, what a C major scale is or how to play a piano or something.
Yeah.
She can talk to me about those things in an open, creative, you know, kind of exploratory way.
Damn. That's beauty.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Especially for people who do creative work. I don't know. Like we talked about painting and music or authors or, you know, anything. This is all very personal. Of course, you need resilience and having like a partner in your life. You can share that. You can be like your true self in a way and like and share your passion with that person because that's the person you want to talk to. Like, yeah, amazing day.
Exactly.
You know, listen to what just happened. You know?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's super important to have people like that in your life.
That's how you can flourish. You know, you can
Exactly,
Yeah,
because you got to be
thrive.
able to kind of open yourself up
Mm-hmm.
to having somebody else know you
Mm-hmm.
and be able to kind of express yourself however you want to and have them accept you. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, like my wife, when I'll say, you know, hey, you want to listen to some of the new stuff I've been working on, and she's always like, yeah, and that's a great feeling. You know, it's a great feeling to have somebody that will allow you to kind of be who you are and be accepting of it. Not only just accepting of it, but interested in it.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Yeah.
super important.
So the environment is extremely important in order.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, once again, it's like that fence feeling.
Okay.
You know, it's like that restrictive that isn't restriction. It's like freedom within a place. So I know that when I'm at home with my wife, she's on my side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're on each other's side.
Yeah.
I'm interested in what she is doing and who she is, and she's interested in me and what I'm doing. And so I can feel comfortable within that relationship to be like, you know what, I'm gonna go play. I'm gonna go record. I'm gonna go compose. And she's gonna be like, great, go.
Yeah.
I'll
Awesome.
be interested to hear what you do when you come back. And it's really nice to be able to have that
I bet.
that kind of security, I guess.
Yeah.
Of knowing like she's going to do her thing, I can do my thing,
Yeah.
and we come back together, and there's going to be mutual interest and sharing, and you know.
Love it.
Love
it. When you feel inspired to do music, is there like a desire to give inspiration back somehow? Inspire others in return? Like what I'm referring to is more when I fell in love with my favorite songs, my favorite bands, it created so much joy and love within me, inside of me, so that I felt inspired to like pick up the guitar and start making music with my brother, with my friends, and just go out there. And then when you get to a certain level and create something other people like, and then you create that same joy and love in someone else, and that person might be inspired by that too. You have the ability
to create that joy and love within you, yourself. And that's like we talked about those moments when you just,
In yourself, for yourself.
yeah, and that's insane to me. That's mind-blowing. And I'm so freaking grateful for like hanging in there and just keep making music because it fulfills you so freaking much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, to be able to do that would be awesome, to be able to inspire somebody else.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it's obviously, you know, you write something, you think, oh, it's great, you know, I like it.
Yeah.
But it's also, of course, super important to have someone else kind of validate those feelings.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I was talking about with my wife. It's like, she's going to listen. She's a fan, you know?
Yeah, that's
and
awesome.
So I get that feedback. And to be able to do that with a complete stranger, to have somebody else out there listen to that and be like, wow, that's cool. You know, that makes me feel good. Well, yeah, I mean, that's awesome. I would love to do that, you know? And hopefully I do, and hopefully I can, and that's not my main focus, you know? It's less about trying to, like, be something to somebody else.
What I was thinking about, like when Charlie was the kid that came in here, right? And you showed him different things and explained him like how you work, how this whole composing thing is, like that gig, create a little spark here and there, you know, like being that kind of inspiration.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I liked that. There was Charlie, there was a guy before him, Cole, and you know, there's been other people that have come in through here like that.
Yeah.
It feels good to be generative, you
Yeah.
know, to kind of give back.
I bet.
Bit, you know, because I'm at a place where I can kind of do that now, as opposed to, like, you know, you're clawing and trying to get wherever you need to go. Then there comes a time when you can kind of like sit back a little bit and you can kind of give a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that to be, it's satisfying.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you can really learn, you know.
Oh,
You've probably heard it said, like, you teach, you learn.
Yeah. Yeah. You learn way more when you teach, right?
I really feel like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
you know?
that's true.
And then once again, it's that feeling of, like, that deadline, that pressure of, like, if somebody says, what's a compressor?
Yeah.
You got to know what it is.
Yeah.
You know? And so you got to go, what is it? What does it do? How do you use it? You know?
Yeah.
And it's like some things you don't really, you know, you use compressors all the time if you're recording, but you don't really, like, think about how you would lecture about it. You know, how you would explain what it does or whatever. And so it really takes you into a deeper level to teach somebody, to kind of share stuff. And it gives you that kind of push, that kind of pressure, which is good.
All right. Yeah, this is the end. Is there anything else you would like to share or talk about? Anything we didn't cover?
Nope, I've talked your ear off.
Awesome. Hal, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
For being a part of this, for making music with me.
Yeah, my pleasure.
For collaborating, for teaching me. Thanks for your creativity. Thank you for your inspiration, and keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you, Johannes.
Thank you.